Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay. Everything's good. Okay. Let me just wait a little bit for people to come in. Video will be uploaded to YouTube in case anyone misses it, and it will be saved on Twitch. Okay. Yo, what's up, what's up? Yeah, I'll be starting like a minute. Hey, what's good, what's good? Just waiting on some people to hop in this bitch, and then we'll get started. Class time, yeah. You know, a little lecture type B type thing, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't figure out how to get the, this part of this thing off the video. Whatever, I'm no tech master. We got any fighting games? I'm doing that. Hopefully this class is good for you. Thank you, man. Okay. Let's get started. So, first of all, thank you guys for tuning in. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ibrahim. Some of you guys might know me as Ringo. Some of you guys who know me as Ib. Whatever you guys know me as, welcome to my stream. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing sort of like a half lecture, half podcast thing on learning fighting games, why they're hard to learn, how I think you're supposed to learn them, and ways to improve your learning process, right? Let's talk about fighting. Right, excuse my poor handwriting on my mouse. Fighting games, right? Fighting games. Now, why hard? Why are these games hard to learn? Right? So let's talk a little bit about fighting games as a genre, where they came from. So fighting games are traditionally a skill-based, one-on-one sort of one-on-one game where two players compete for one of two ways to win. Either you deplete your opponent's health bar before time runs out, or you have more health in them by the time, by when the game runs out of time, right? So those are the two ways to win. And the reason why this is hard, right? So why hard? Because you are in usually a one-on-one skill-based setting, right? Skill-based setting. Now, there's exceptions to this. Like there we have arena fighters, which are a new genre. We have, or not new, but newer, platform fighting games. Another genre which usually has more than 1v1. But it all comes back to this, right? This is essentially you're having a skill-based 1v1 setting. So you're essentially having a skill-based 1v1 setting. He said, I thought of something and opened up MS Paint. Yeah, it's kind of what happened, bro. I ain't even gonna front with you. So yeah, it's a skill-based 1v1 setting. So this is why, right? If you want to know why these games are considered hard, it's because of this. Right? But the first thing why I think people get stuck here, and this is why they get, quote unquote gatekept, is because they don't even know what a fighting game really is. So let's get rid of all this real quick. Aren't you going away? File? No. Don't save. Give me a sec. Alright, as you guys can see, I am a master at MS Paint. I'm pretty good. And what's good, JC? What's good, Shadarian? What do I want to do this? I had a discussion with some people, and we were just talking about learning. And I realized the way they think about learning these games is super whack, in my opinion. So I was like, let me go make a video on this and see if people care. But thanks for tuning in, y'all. Appreciate you guys. Okay. So, what does a fighting game boil down to, right? Like, what is the game play? Jeez, my mouse handwriting. What is the gameplay loop? There's two steps. There's two things. You're making informed decisions. And you're acting them out. Executing. Right? So anybody who tries to tell you fighting games are super complex or super layered, no. This is what you're doing. This is literally it. It's literally two steps. You make an informed, you decide to make an informed decision, and you act it out. You execute this decision. This is literally every fighting game on existence. Anybody who tells you a fighting game is super complicated or is like very, very difficult to get into, they're wrong. Right? I'm telling you right now, they're wrong. Because this is all you're doing. Two steps. But if it's a two-step process, right, then why do we have so much trouble? Why do we struggle to learn fighting games? We, myself included, because I've had this issue as well, especially when I was trying to learn games like Street Fighter. Oh, what's up, Alex? What's going on? What's up? So, let's just see, I've been learning games like Street Fighter when I was younger, right? I was like, why don't I get anything, right? And I'm going to talk about the learning process, first of all, and where people go wrong. So, why can't I undo more of this? Like, alright, I'm just gonna... Alright, well, File, new, don't save. Okay. Let's talk about this. So, learning fighting games. So why is this hard? Why is this step hard? One, nobody likes to lose. And this is for people who are not really like into fighting games, right? Especially for someone who's it's their first. MS Paint Undo is Duke. Yeah, it is, man. It's so trash. So learning fighting games. Nobody likes to lose. This is more so for people, us, those of us who are more, what's the word? Indoctrinated into the culture of fighting games. We don't mind this as much. But for people who are like, it's their first fighting game or they only play them casually, nobody likes to lose. So the problem with fighting games is when you lose, right, it lets you know. What do I mean by this? This is more of a psychology thing. Your mouse handwriting is pretty good. I think it's terrible. Like, there's no way. It's totally garbage. You guys are just y'all are just trolling me. But it lets you know. Oh, now what does that mean? Right. So I don't know if you guys ever played Street Fighter 2. This is the first fighting game I ever played with Street Fighter 2. When you lost around in Street Fighter 2, your character would yell, would fall over in slow motion, bounce off the floor. The other guy, my mouse writing is at legend. Jeez Louise, man. But you lose in Street Fighter 2, right? You die in slow motion. You fall on the floor, bounce. The other guy does their funny win pose, and it says like player 1 wins or something, or you win, or whatever. And like then it goes to the next round. And let me tell you, when that happened to me, right, when I lost to, I think it was the Chun-Li CPU in the arcade, because I was like a kid, and I got some quarters and I put them in, and I was playing arcade mode. Dude, I never felt like I was more worthless as a human being my entire life than when Chun-Li did the laugh with the peace sign and jumped up and down and it said you lose. So I sat there and had to watch that whole thing. The fighting games really rub it in your face. They let you know that you got whooped. And why does this matter? Because of this word right here. Right here. Look. Ego. No. For those of you that have ever had a discussion before, you guys know that I don't value this at all. I think this is one of the biggest roadblocks to learning. Why do I say that? When you have ego, you essentially are afraid. I really hope I'm not spelling anything wrong. Yeah, afraid. If it's spelled wrong, I don't care. Alright, you are afraid. Afraid of what? A couple things. One, you're afraid of feeling inadequate. Especially in a game where the game lets you know that you're doo-doo butter. The worst thing that can happen to you is you sit here and you're forced to hold that L and it's your fault. Right? You got smashed. Ain't no teammate let you down. The game didn't rob you or whatever. I mean, nowadays it's kind of a different story. But back then the game didn't rob you. You sat there and you got kicked in your chest. That's what happened. People are afraid of this, and I don't blame you, right? If you're afraid of this, that's completely okay. Let me tell you right now, you're not a bitch. You're not a bitch. You're not a wuss. Nothing. You're not like you're not cheating yourself, because we're human beings, right? It's psychologically speaking. We tend to gravitate towards activities that reinforce our self-value and raise our self-esteem, right? We want to do positive reinforcement activities to feel better about ourselves, psychologically speaking. So, fighting games are naturally the opposite when you're learning them, because you learn fighting games, and I'll get to this if you're further on the video, by losing. You learn them by losing. So, you're catching all these L's. Why am I drawing this? All right. You're catching all these L's, and you're just holding all these L's, and you're like, dude, I'm trash. Why do I even play this game? If you're in the arcade, bro, like I paid money for this. Like, dude, I paid $60 for this game. My friends gonna see me lose. My mom gonna watch me lose. My girl's gonna come over. Man, the afraid block is 3D. That's serious, bro. Everybody's mad afraid, bro. Everybody's mad afraid of losing their self-esteem and preserving their ego. This is like a big deal. Someone added me. What do you want? Oh, never mind. Anyway, everybody's afraid of like this core, this bubble. This is my self-esteem bubble right here surrounding me. I want to make it bigger, bigger, bigger all the time. And if someone comes in and takes some air out of it, bro, I'm like, I don't want to do that again. Dude, that sucked. And me, I'm great, man. Like I'm me, I'm me, and I like me. So I want to keep being me. And like, I can't be a better me or something. And it's psychology, it's okay. It's okay. We all have that naturally in us. But this right here is the roadblock. Roadblock. Okay. This is the roadblock that we have to overcome. If we don't overcome this roadblock, you'll probably. But I'm the GOAT. Yeah, I'm Aki, deadass. Exactly. I can't believe y'all the best students I ever had. This is like the great human fallacy for fighting games. This is why you didn't tech that throw, and you swear that you did. This is why you said you got scrubbed out in pools. This is why you dropped the game after 2 months, even though you were mad gas for it when it was like releasing trailers. And this is why you say I don't play ranked. It's because you are afraid of hurting your ego. I just keep drawing lines on the screen. That's the roadblock that makes Nam say don't play Monta alone. Yup. Cause you don't want to look doo-doo by yourself. You want your homies to laugh at you. This is the roadblock. Now, how do we overcome this? This is like the big human fallacy, right? Everybody's afraid of hurting their own ego. How do we overcome this? How do we defeat ourselves? This is actually, I don't think I'm qualified to answer this question, but I will anyway because I'm Akhistotle, right? I can do whatever the hell I want. So I'm gonna answer this question anyway. We'll use a different color. We'll use red. Oops, I don't want to do that. How do I do that? All right, let's go. Use red. So, how do we overcome being afraid? How to man, woman, or whichever term you prefer, because we love all people. Oops. You prefer. Actually, I have it on do button. Because we love all you guys. It's a little hard for all you people that are tuning in. The fuck up. See in red. How do we man, woman / whichever term you prefer the fuck up? This is the timeless question, right? This is a timeless question. Back when Socrates was whooping Aristotle's ass in Dirt Fighters, right? Out of the Greek playground, on the Greek Tendo stone tablet. He was like, man, how do I learn this game? This has been an ancient question. Man, how to grow the fuck up and hold your L's. And the answer is, do not come in with unreasonable. This is step 1. Do not come in with unreasonable expectations. This is step 1. Do not come in with unreasonable expectations. Now, what does this mean, right? When you decide to pick up anything, right? Let's say you have a goal, right? You want to pick something up and be like, I want to be the best, swimmer, or the best wood carver, or the best poet, or whatever. You know, that's a goal or a dream. Well, let's call it a dream because a goal is something you can reliably achieve. A dream is something you work towards. You may never achieve it. So let's call it a dream. Let's be realistic here. Let's call it a dream. Not saying you can't do it, but we're going to be realistic for the sake of this video. Let's call it a dream. Right? You have a dream. When you pick up that hobby you're picking up or whatever, you have to make sure that you mentally separate the dream from the goal. And what is the goal? The goal is learning. This is where people mess up. The goal is learning, right? The dream is succeeding. How do I spell this word? Did I get it right? Chat, did I do it? Did I spell succeed right? I got no idea. I don't know if I believe in myself. Whatever, I'm Akhistotle, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so it's succeed. The dream is succeeding, the goal is learning. You think so? Hey, shout out to Frack, real one. Even if I did it wrong, he won't tell me. What a go. Go. I did good? Thanks, man. Succeeding? Yo, I did it. Let's go. Alright. So your dream is to succeed, right? Or dub. I'm gonna put dub. This is the dub. Goal is learning. Now, what is the disconnect here? You know, why is there a disconnect here? This is where people don't understand. This is where people mess up. Why is there a disconnect here? The reason is, let me just reset our fine establishment. So, why disconnect? We got our thinking cap on, because now we're thinking. You know, we got a little thinking cap on. Why is there a disconnect? I don't know how to spell myself. That makes two of us. Well, you know, why is there a disconnect? Because to learn a fighting game, you must lose. Now, why is that? Why must you lose? Right? Because someone could say, well, Akhistotle, I can just lab everything. Top players just won't tell me. Right? So it'll be like, well, Akhistotle, why don't we just lab everything? If the top players, you know, stop having a stick up their ass and tell us about the game instead of, you know, holding it to themselves. It's a competitive experience, right? And that's all you can try to win or anything. But you know what? Lil Akhistotle, even if they did share everything with you, right? Even if, and some players do. Shout out to my man Speedcakes, the GOAT, Steven Stafford. He will teach you. He loves teaching. He loves learning. So he will share everything with you. But even him, you know, the people who try to learn from him, a lot of times they don't go anywhere. And why is that? It's not Speed's fault. It's because to learn a fighting game, you must lose. Now, I know y'all young athletes. Some of y'all have your meaty fist ball up. You're like, this Rango guy's a hater, gatekeeper, old ass man. I hate this dude, old school guy. Why do I gotta lose, right? Why can't I just cast the inevitable dub to win? Like, why can't I just get a dub? And why can't I, have fun and win at the same time and then learn by proxy? Like, dude, like fighting games suck. I'm gonna go play Animal Crossing. You know what? Let me educate y'all. For those of you that don't know, why? So, what was a fighting game again? There was 2 parts, right? 2. Oh, oops. I'll use this color then because I messed up. I look stupid. 2 parts. 1, informed decision making, right? Gonna hit a Pokemon spoon. Informed decision making, right? Now, what does this mean? Informed decision making. What it means is that you essentially what fighting games do is they'll constantly put both players in situations. The game state is constantly dynamic. It's changing in multiple ways, and every time it puts you in a situation, there's like a quick time event, and both players have to use what they know about the situation to make a decision that brings them closer to win. That's what informed decision making means, and this is the core aspect of fighting games, right? Informed decision making. So learning this, I don't care what anybody tells you, to learn this, you have to lose, right? And why do you have to lose? Like, why? Why do I have to lose? Because no matter how many times, a little quiet there. Okay, let me see. I think I was just speaking quieter. Is this better? You guys hear me a lot better now? I'm just making sure because I started talking a little quieter during that sentence. I don't know. Sometimes I'm mad loud. Sometimes I'm mad quiet. Oh, okay. Most of the lean back. Gotcha. So, why do we have to lose? Because no matter what, how many times people try to explain something to you, a situation doesn't make sense until you know when, how, why, where, and how it occurs. Right? This is my philosophy, one of my philosophies that people will probably disagree with. A situation will not make sense to you till you know when, why, where, and how it occurs. So you have to know this. When, why, where, and how this occurs. And the only way you can answer all 4 questions completely is to play, right? You'll run into the situation. You'll be like, what the hell do I do? And you'll lose. And you'll sit here and you'll be like, dude, what happened? I didn't need to write this out, but I wanted to because it's fun to write on this thing. What happened? What was that? So, this here, this concept is why you have to lose, right? And I will die on this hill. If you disagree with me, sorry, in my humble opinion, you're wrong. Okay? You don't have to agree with me. This is just, but now that I can comfortably say that I've learned these games very fast now. This is what I think is like key. Like what happened? So this is why you have to lose. But that's not all. There's another reason you have to lose. Because what was step 2? Execute. You have to execute. And what does that mean? You have to, 1, recognize the situation, have the info, make the decision, and perform it in the quick time event frame. right? You have to do it in this time frame. And because you have to do it in this time frame, you can make an error here, you can make an error here, you can make an error here, and you can make an error here, and you will, 100%. You're not a robot. And when you make that error, you'll screw up and you will lose. So right off the bat, both steps in a fighting game, to succeed in both steps, you have to lose. You guys understand? You know what? Right here, I think we'll take any questions. Anybody have any questions before we move on to the next step, which is, now that we understand why we have to lose, we're going to talk about how to learn and mistakes people make. Anybody have any questions? I'll give it a couple minutes for questions and then we'll move on to the next. This guy here said no. Oh, what's up, Ferris? The whole video is going to be uploaded to both my Twitch and YouTube, so don't you worry, man. If you still following along, gotcha. I mean, even if you're following along, if you have any questions about anything I talked about, like a concept that you want to discuss, that's someone's bound to ask, but why can't I learn to win? We actually just went over that. Why can't you learn to win? Because the situations you run into, you're not going to know what to do, and you're going to inevitably lose as long as the person you're playing against knows what they're doing. If you play against scrubs, right, like doo-doo butter players, you can still cheat, you can still fraud out a win. Because they're not going to know what they're doing, and neither are you. So it literally just comes down to like a pachinko game. It's like chance. When two shitters fight, all that matters is who's swinging their arms faster. It doesn't matter about the muscular strength or the size advantage or the reach advantage. It just matters who's swinging their arms faster and who's hitting more flailing windmill punches. That is who wins a shitter fight. Your goal is to like just fraud out your opponent as fast as possible, and both of you don't know what you're doing. That's why low rank in every fighting game is so fraudulent, and both sides stay bad. Without any outside intervention, both sides stay bad. That's why it stays like that, because they get stuck in the shitter fight cage match, where they literally like down there is like a jungle, you know, in these low level like tiers of players. It's a jungle, dude. All you want is that dub. You're fighting for survival. You're fighting for your life. You're on the streets. Aki laced up, gloved up. All he wants is to put bread on the table, and the bread is the you win screen. That's it. That's why you can't win and learn. Because when you play to win, you're trying to avoid. Okay, this is actually good. Alright, I actually should have started with this, because this is the important part. When you play to learn, right? Play to learn. You are actively trying to put yourself in situations that you don't understand, because you want to experience them for the first time or second time or whatever time, and start to learn how they work, or learn which part you don't understand, or learn which part messes up your. I'll get your question in a second, JP. Which part messes up your execution? I'll get to that question in 1 second. That's a good question. Your next. The reason why playing to win doesn't work is when you play to win at every level, you only pursue situations that favor you. No matter what. When you're a garbage doo-doo shitter player, when you're new to the game, which is fine, it's not an insult, right? Don't worry about it. When I'm saying that, it's just, you know, everybody's been doo-doo ass at some point. When you're at that level, right? You're at that level, every situation that's not yours is bad. You understand? You're literally playing to avoid interacting with your opponent at all. You are just trying to shark. I have two in a lot of games, man. Don't worry about it. I'm trash as Street Fighter 4. See me anytime. But what's it called? You are actively trying to avoid interacting with your opponent, so you're just going to try to fraud them out. And if you don't fraud them out, you're gonna complain. You're gonna mentally, you're just gonna disregard the result. I got cheese. This guy's trash. I should have won. Whatever, whatever, whatever. Right? And if you win, like this guy sucks. I've destroyed him. Like get out of my face. And you just get the dub and you run away because that's all you want. That's all you want. You're not even worried about the situations you're playing in. You're just sitting here trying to get the dub. Again, you're fighting for your life when you're getting that dub. You don't care. You don't care. So when you play to win, you're actively working against what you have to do to play to win. And that's what people don't get. And this is actually what I had a discussion with someone a couple of days ago, where they were saying that this is not true. This goes against learning psychology. I'm like, man, like, have you ever played a fighting game, dude? Like, the more you try to win, the worse you'll get at a new fighting game. You should have the desire to win. You want to win at some point. You don't want to just sit there and get your ass beat. But if you play to win, that is your goal every time you go into a match, is to win that match. You want to learn shit. I'm telling you right now, you want to learn shit. And the best example was when a fraudulent version of the game comes out. And people will play to win in that version of the game. When they go to another version, a version of the game comes out that's more competitive, they can't do anything. They suck. And they look like a fish out of water. Why is that? Because they never learned how to play in the first place. They just scrubbed out wins. As ignorant as that sounds, that's how it works. They just scrubbed out wins. Okay, so how do you know if you're in a shitter scene? The best way to tell is if people... Tekken 7's like that, yes. Street Fighter 5 is like that. Gundam Versus, the NA release. Extreme Versus was like that. What else? Like a lot of modern games are like that, dude. Like a lot of modern games because being able to scrub somebody out is something that's appealing to new players because it always lets them win, even if like you're worse than someone. So, yeah. What was I gonna say? So how do you know if you're in a shitter scene? That's a good question. It's kind of hard to answer that fully, like, accurately. In my opinion, the best way to know, the best way to know if you're in a, being able to scrub new players? No. New players being able to scrub other people out. Because they get to skip the learning parts of the game and be able to contest and feel like they have a chance because the game is naturally inconsistent. Yeah, exactly. Essentially cheese them, yeah. Because the game will have situations where the player on the receiving end can't... Yeah, Dragon Ball Fire is another example. Player on the receiving end doesn't really have the right... doesn't have the faculties. There's nothing they can really... Their execution, their informed decision-making, and the execution... I'm sorry, I went to the wrong side of the camera. Is so much higher than what it is, what it should be, that they just like, because of RNG, they'll most likely mess up. Because fighting games is rock paper scissors, right? So you still have to make that guess. You're making an informed decision, but it's still a guess. So that's where they get scrubbed out or cheesed out. Man, why is my chair tilted? All right, but good question. So the way you would know if you're in a shitter scene, that's a hard question to answer. I know I've spent a little too much time on this. I'm gonna move forward now. Honestly, if you're playing in a scene and you notice that people don't respond to how you play, right? You go to locals a couple times, and by like the third or fourth time you're at locals, people are still responding to everything you do the same way, and people aren't really, people aren't actively like asking questions or talking to you. They're like, oh, how do I beat this, right? But then you tell them, and like they might do it right a couple times, whatever. But their methodology doesn't change. The way they respond to things, yes, the worst to fight, right? The people that don't learn, those you have to scrub kill them, but that's for a different video. Yes, explaining how to scrub kill is a different video. I can do that maybe tomorrow or something. But those guys. When you feel like including yourself, is just sitting there and like kind of essentially stuck in a loop. You guys do the same thing every week, and it just kind of feels like, this guy beat this guy just because it happened, or that guy beat this guy just because it happened, or whatever. Or even if the guys are quote unquote good, quote unquote good, like they make it somewhere in a larger tournament or something, because you can be a high level scrub. You're in a shitter scene. And the more you learn about how to learn fighting games, the faster you can learn people are scrubs. So that's something to keep in mind. So, okay, I'm gonna move on. So we went over this, right? So here, this is why you have to lose. So how do we learn a fighting game? Okay. Let me just gather my thoughts. Give me a second. How do we learn? I'm gonna go back to this red because I like this red. How do we learn? A-R-N of fighting game, right? What are the steps? Step 1, mentality, which we talked about in great detail. Mentality. You will lose. Lose. Okay. Play to learn. Learn to win. This is step 1. Assalamu alaikum. Islam. I got to. We're out here conceptualizing and theorizing. A little bit. It's more so lecturing, brother. But okay. Yes. Mentality. Well, we talked about this in detail. We've beaten this horse to death. Right? We've beaten this horse to death. He's gone. Step 2. Right? Understand the system. Right, this is step 2. Understand the system. What does this mean? So every fighting game is like its own little pocket dimension where it has its own rules to where things work, right? Everything works in that dimension in its own ways. And when you're trying to learn this game, the first thing you should learn is how the system works. You should learn all the mechanics of the game. You know, like how health works, how blocking works, how frames work, how damage works, how resources works, that kind of stuff. How the different character gimmicks work. Not the characters, the gimmicks work. Like how does charge work? How do inputs work? How does this character do this? How do grabs work? Whatever. You want to learn everything about the game system. And I think this is what people actually skip a lot of the time. They just learn one character and go, I'll learn how to fight every other character after I learn this character, right? No. Understand the system. When people tell you to learn a fighting game, they tell you to play, guess what they tell you to play? The Ryu of the game. They tell you to play the Ryu of the game, right? That's the little Ryu headband on the R. Am I trying to get added? Nah, man, you're fine. You're fine. I'm not calling out anybody. So they tell you to play the Ryu of the game. Now, why did they tell you to play the Ryu of the game? Because the Ryu of the game is simple. The Ryu of the game is simple and what's it called? Allows you to learn. What's it? Simple, and this, because they're simple, they don't complicate your decision making. They don't complicate your decision making. So why is that important? Because understanding the system is actually what takes the longest time, in my opinion, to learn a fighting game. Is understanding the system. Because the system dictates how is like the primary way that you make your informed decisions is you make them in context of the system. Because context of the system. Because this is essentially how your decisions are going to play out, is through, and how you're going to execute them is through the system, right? Because that's when you're playing a game. This is how it's going to work. You don't throw the punch yourself. You do it through the game. The game, you hit the button, the guy punches. That's that it goes through the game system. So you have to understand the context you're in, which is the game system. So when you play the Ryu of the game, the character is simple. Because it's simple, you can really focus on understanding the system, right? Understand the system. So when somebody plays Ryu, why do they play Ryu? Because Ryu has like 4 or 5 moves you use, and the 4 or 5 moves you use do everything the character needs. You sit there, you learn neutral, right? He has a fireball, he has a crouching medium kick. I'm talking about Ryu in Street Fighter right now, because Street Fighter is like the skeleton of every game, essentially. Every fighting game, if it's really a fighting game, can be boiled down to Street Fighter, in my opinion. That's how you know it's a fighting game or not. As if Street Fighter could be applied to it. If not, then it's not really a fighting game, in my opinion. But that's, again, not a topic for today. So, in Street Fighter, Ryu has, his crouching medium kick, which he uses. He has his fireball. He has his jab. He has his crouching heavy punch. He has his DP. This is like bare bones Ryu, like absolute bare bones. You don't even need his solar plexus, because that's only in why did it come out purple? That's cool. How do you do that? But what's it called? What's it called? You only need those moves. Excuse me. I lost my train of thought. You only need those moves, and if you use those moves and you learn the system mechanics. What does that mean? You learn how to play neutral. You learn how neutral works. You learn what moves hit, what moves miss. You learn frame advantage and block advantage, because you need to know what your moves are on block so you don't die, and what other moves are on block and how blocking works so that you can punish them or not die. You learn how to anti-air, because your 5 moves you do will get people to jump, so you gotta learn how to hit people out of the air. You're gonna learn how the combo system works, because you need to kill people, right? And you're gonna learn how throws work, because people are eventually going to try to throw you if you block well, etc., etc. You're going to sit here, and because your character is so simple, and you don't have to spend time worrying about your character, because the guy who teaches you the game gives you 5 or 6 moves and say, hey, good luck, learn the game, right? Because it's so simple, you get to worry about the system. You get to learn the system. You get to focus on the system. And the reason why they tell you Ryu and not Akuma, or not Ken in certain games or whatever, or not like Sagat in certain games, etc. So characters that can fulfill the same sort of archetype as Ryu, is because a lot of the times these characters will have a move that you want to use that will cover certain aspects. I'm moving the range of the camera. Will cover certain aspects of the game system for you. And that's where a lot of the times people become weak in a fundamental area, is because they didn't sit there and learn that aspect of the system. So that's why people tell you learn the game on the Ryu. Learning the game may not take that long. People think it takes a couple months. Dude, it can take only a few days or a few weeks, depending on whatever. And we don't want people to sit there and play a character they don't like for a long time. That's not going to help you learn. But just get a grasp of the system a little bit, just understand, get your feet wet, understand what's going on the screen. That's what we tell people to play the Ryu of the game. To learn the system. This is the first this is like the big step. Understand the system. Okay. Once you understand the system, you are now going to have to work on a very important aspect of the Akhistotle path. And what is that? Looking, I know some of y'all know this advice, at the screen. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, what the fuck? Like, what does this mean, look at the screen? Like, aren't I always looking at the screen? Now, you will be surprised, young athlete. You might not always be looking at the screen, even though you think you are. Because what does this mean? It means being aware of what you do, what your opponent does, and what the results are. This means no autopilot. Alright, so looking at the screen, being aware of what you do, what your opponent does, what the results are, no autopilot. And this is such an important skill that so many low to mid-level players never develop. Has someone ever asked you, why did you mash there? Or why didn't you block that? Or why did you do that? Or why did you put yourself in the corner? Why did you give up stage? Why did you? And you think about it and you don't have an answer, right? No answer. This is because you're not looking at the screen. As mean as that sounds, you're not really paying attention. And it's not. I'm not insulting again. Never take anything I say personally. This is just why these games are hard to learn how to learn them. It's because you're not looking at the screen. You're not aware of what's happening. You don't know what's going on with you. So once you understand the system, you gotta know what's happening in the system. So you gotta learn. It's a mindfulness thing. Exactly. You have to literally know what's going on. Now that you know how it works, you gotta know what's happening. And this is literally harder than learning how it works because fighting games are usually fast or explosive or layered, right? So there's usually some aspect of the game that makes it challenging to be aware about what's going on. So once you understand the system, you pick a character you like, and you sit here and you learn how to look at the screen. This is where you learn their combos, you learn their neutral tools, you learn how to hit confirm, how to defend, how to block certain things, how to react to things, right? You do all of that to learn how to look at the screen, and a lot of people just skip this step and they say, I know the system, now it's time to win. Absolutely not. Because just because you learned the system doesn't mean you're at this step. All it means is you now have to learn how to understand what's happening. So that's what looking at the screen is, and this is the next important step. And this is probably the hardest step, I'm not going to lie to you guys. One that takes the most effort to achieve. But that's okay. Because we are here to learn. We're not here to judge. We're not here to brag about how fast or slow we pick things up. Learning. And learning is personal. Just know that this step is, like, in my opinion, the biggest hurdle, is looking at the screen. This is where people I know still suffer today. And honestly, no matter how much advice you give them, it doesn't matter because they don't really, either they don't listen. They don't listen. They're not really looking at the screen, they're just doing shit. And they'll tell them, like, hey, do this. They're like, oh, okay, thanks, man. And they don't apply it because they don't even know they're in this situation. And they may do it once or twice, and you're like, hey, they're doing it. No, it's a freak accident. Are you saying it's possible 100 times to be mindful? Yes. And it is exhausting. That's why when you're playing to learn, you can't play that long. When you guys do long handful matches, like, yeah, see, like when you play to win all the time, right? You're just playing like, you know, you're like responding like a wild animal to these situations. How did I do that? You go away. How did I? Oh, there it is. Okay. You're playing like a wild animal. You're reacting to these you're like just kind of reacting like this happens, that. You're like you're just your neurons are firing off. You're scrapping. when you're playing to learn, you're actively understanding everything that's happening to you. You're like, oh, what happened here? Or my thing didn't come out. Or like, I didn't do this in time. Or, you know, like, why didn't this happen? That takes a lot out of you. You can't play as much, you know, actively trying to learn. It takes more out of your brain. So yeah, it is exhausting. You're absolutely right. And stamina. If you're not playing 100%, what are you supposed to do with the game? Okay, that's a good question. So, if you can't be aware of everything, find something that you're poor at sniffing out, and just practice looking for that. So, let's give a Smash example because I know I have a lot of Smash players in here. Let's say you are trying to catch one thing. You're trying to be aware of people doing unsafe aerials on in Melee. Right? Blanket example. You're trying to be aware of them when they do something stupid. And there's a million other things going on at the same time, but you're not there 100% right now. So what you do is you sit there, and this is usually what people recommend because it saves you from burnout. Is you pick one skill, in this case, punishing unsafe aerials, and you sit there and you look for them. You try to bait them out. You wait for them. You look for them. And you actively make an informed decision and execute in response to them all the time. And this is how you work on a skill. This is essentially working on skills and is work on your awareness because you're looking for something and then you're applying your information against it. Oops, I think my cap was on. This is like what you do when you're not there 100%. And this is what I recommend most people do anyway because it stops you from burning out. Does that make sense? Good. All right. Thanks for the question. That's a good question. So that's looking at the screen. Okay. Once you have mastered the ancient art of looking at the screen, so you've mastered the system. You know how the system works. And master is used loosely because we can always get better at things. You understand the system. Check. You look at this. What the hell is this? You look at the screen. Check. Now what's step 3? Step 3. Once you've mastered these 2 steps, you know. Yeah, just do what you can. Exactly. What do you do when you can't do shit? You do what you can. Shout outs to Robert Freeman, the GOAT. Rest in peace. Down with the spoon. System check. Look at the screen check. What do you do? Now you do targeted learning. And when you're at the targeted learning stage, now you're trying to win. Because you already learned the system and you're already aware of what's happening. Right? You can look at the screen. Check. Anything you missed, Trill, you can just rewatch the video. It's going to be uploaded to my Twitch and YouTube. So you can always just watch it at your leisure. So, system check, look at the TV check. Now you can do targeted learning. Because now you're trying to win. Because these 2 have already been covered. Like, good job, man. You earned it. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. That's the worst star I've ever drawn. Thumbs up. Alright, there we go. So now that you're trying to win, when something stops you from winning, you go, how? You ask what this is, why do they do it, where does it happen, how do I beat it? And then you practice the response. This is the high level learning loop. Because at this point, you are reaching the high level. You're starting to reach high level. Like, you're trying to approach the high level. And you might even be a high level player. This is the high level learning loop. Because you know the system, you know what, you're aware of what's going on. So, you target learning. You play to win. Something stops you from winning. Bop, you didn't win. Like, what the hell was that? Why the hell was that? When the hell does that happen? How do I stop that? And then you practice the response. You go back to targeted learning. You try to win again. Something stops you. And it just keeps happening. Over and over and over and over and over. Who added me? Octopath Traveler. Hey man, appreciate you. That's fire. I want to make them my Twitch better. Thank you, man. That's fire. It's really funny. So, yeah. Sorry about that. That was very amusing. But, targeted learning is this. This is the last step. And you keep doing this till you win against the guy that was beating you. Once you've done that, you move to the next question. This is the last step. And eventually, you know, theoretically speaking, as long as you're constantly practicing and putting the time in, eventually you'll learn how to deal with everything. And it just comes down to how well you can execute. That's the barrier at the end of the day. And is how well you can execute these informed decisions, and who keeps making the right decision, because that's where like the layers come in, and who's outplaying people and who's better than other people is that at the end of the day. Because when you get very high in the skill level, you know, those top level players, it's just who's making the right decision and who's executing that decision better. That's what it is. Because sometimes there's more than one answer you can choose. It's like an open-ended question. A lot of these situations, that's what makes fighting games so good. Is, you know, it's rock paper scissors, but sometimes scissors beats rock. You know, like, as weird as that sounds, if you understand fighting games, you understand what I mean by that. That's really how it works at the end of the day. So when you get to that high level, it's who's making the right decisions and who's executing them properly. But they understand, they've done all this targeted learning. And when they don't do targeted learning, man, you see someone get shit on. And Sajam has a great video about this, where some guy just gets exposed by a setup he didn't know. I think it was in Gear. Like, he just get absolutely dookied on. Like, it was awful. And that's what you get when you don't do your target learning. This is like when people lab, right? Labbing. You should be this is labbing. This step here. If you haven't cleared these two steps, labbing should not be your primary focus, right? And this is like, what the heck? I shouldn't be labbing, but everybody tells me to lab. No, because you're not ready for this. This targeted learning thing. This targeted learning thing, right? You're not ready for this yet. You're not, because you haven't cleared the system. You don't understand how the system works in its entirety, and you're not aware of everything that goes on. So this part here, you skipped 2 steps, Afi. What are you doing, man? You don't belong here. This is the AP class, right? This is the AP class, man. You don't belong here. You gotta finish your grade school. You gotta finish middle school before you can go to here. And once you finish here, you get your little hat, your diploma, and you don't go 2-2 anymore. So this is the final step of learning a fighting game. So let's go over it. Learn everything about the system and how it works. You gotta know the rules of the world you're in. Look at the screen, man. Make sure you understand what's happening in the world around you. Targeted learning. Learn how to beat things that you run into in the world. Get your dub. Congratulations, you learned the fighting game. Now, let's see. So we went over why people can't learn them, why they're hard to learn, how to learn them. I think that's really all I want to cover for this video. So, it will be on YouTube, Shidari. It's going to be uploaded. If anybody has any questions now, I will take them because I don't really think I have anything else to add. But maybe questions might spark my my train of thought. So now, floor's open. Everybody ask questions. If you have any. If you don't, then you can wrap this bad boy up and call it a day. Thank you for sitting this out with me. This was a long hour, a lot of information. So really appreciate you guys sitting through. Great job. Thank you. You guys did a great job as students. To be honest, it was really nice having people that are so responsive when you teach them. So going between fighting games, what's the biggest stuff that should transfer? Concepts. Concepts like defense. What's it called? How to learn. The method of learning is the most important thing. To be honest, the process itself, exactly. That's the most important part. And then certain concepts will remain, like blocking and frame advantage and spacing and stuff. If you understand that in one game, you should be able to figure it out in every game. Offense, Oki, that stuff. But if you understand this process, you can learn every game. Just if you have the ability to retain concepts and carry them over, it'll just be faster for you. That's why people who learn one fighting game or two of them start to learn other games faster and faster and faster because they've sort of ironed out the process and have concepts in their head. Good question, man. Any other questions? Sorry, my neck's a little stiff. Don't be shy, guys. This is the perfect time to ask them. I'm pretty awful at checking YouTube comments and stuff, so if you guys have any questions, ask them now, preferably, or reach out to me on Twitter if you want to ask them privately. But don't be ashamed. We need to do away with people being ashamed. The ego, we talked about it. Don't worry about your ego. Just ask anything. Even if it's something that sounds as stupid as possible, go ahead and ask it. No shame, man. How do you know if you learned the system? If you understand how stuff works. If you understand how the game works. I don't know how else to say it, but you have to know how the game works, And you understand what I mean by that? If you can reason out why something in the game works the way it does, you understand the system. I think that's the easiest way to put it. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to explain that more. If you want, you can walk me through why you're confused. Execution is just something you gotta practice. Understand the engine. Yeah, literally you have to understand the game engine. That's what I mean. The game engine, how stuff works, and what beats what. It's like you're learning the rules. You're learning the quote unquote rules of the rock paper scissors you're playing, because every fighting game is a different version of rock paper scissors with different rules. You're just learning the rules. Is that a better way to explain it, Frack? You know what I mean now? When I say understanding the system? Dude, yeah, especially when you play a game casually that has a very big casual legacy like Smash Bros. Trying to pick it up competitively and then moving to other games can be very exhausting. So you guys that made that transition, honestly, I respect you guys because you also took a game that's hard to be consistent in and work to be consistent in them. So kudos to you guys for that. I respect that. I know I shit on Smash all the time, but really I respect that about you guys as a community. And your adamancy to make these games competitive because you guys enjoy them that way. Very much respect that about the Smash community, honestly. It puts other communities to shame when it comes to like-mindedness and unity as a group. in the community. Very nice. I don't think I could restate it well. Okay, well, put it this way. If someone asks you what learning the system means, you tell them they have to learn how the game plays, how the game works, what to do in like the general response to situations, kind of like the quote unquote rules of the game, the way you're quote unquote supposed to play in quotes, that kind of stuff. Fundamentals. The system is kind of like the fundamentals of the game. That's the wrong way for what I'm trying to explain. That's wrong. But if you explain it to someone who kind of has an idea what's going on, if you tell somebody fundamentals when you say learn the system, it will make sense to them. But that's not really what I mean. Yes, that's a good example. Yeah, that kind of shit. Or when I was new to Smash Bros, I thought Raptor Boost into Falcon Dive was a combo, and I used to call it Free 27. I didn't know the system. I thought rolls were unpunishable. I didn't know the system. Street Fighter, I thought Dragon Punch was safe. And I thought the best moves were the heavy moves because they did the most damage. I didn't know the system. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Or in Tekken, I thought, what's it called? Forward back 2-1-2 from Jin into 1+2 was my favorite combo because everybody wouldn't block afterwards, or they would try to neutral guard or something. So yeah, that was it back in Tekken 6. That brings back memories. Yeah. Any other questions? In about like 2 minutes of the video, we'll give it a question. Probably gonna wrap it up. But I'll give some time for people to formulate a question. This is for you? Okay. Good session. Alright guys. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And the people that encouraged me to make this video, I appreciate you guys. Again, the video will be up on both my Twitch and my YouTube, which are both linked in my Discord. Or if you don't know, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Darmobile. I will put it on here. At Darmobile. So you can just reach out to me on Twitter, and I'll link it to my faculties, my social media. No problem, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, for learning. Have a wonderful day. And just DSRF tag the MSP. Yo. Hey, you know what we gotta do. We gotta keep it Aki, even on the way out. But yeah, have a wonderful day, guys. If you guys ever have any questions about learning these games, feel free to reach out to me. Have a wonderful day, wonderful life, and be good people. Thank you for tuning in.